Hi everybody, it's Meg from Books Off the Beaten Path, and remember when I told you I was never going to do a book haul? Well, today I'm going to do a book haul. So clearly I can't be trusted with anything I say on this channel. Just don't trust me. Don't give me an inch. And also this next video was supposed to be about Nancy Drew, but I haven't gotten all the research done on that because there's a lot more than I thought. So you can't trust me on that anyway. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this book haul. Now, I got it all at a thrift bookstore I live in Okie Oklahoma, and we have an amazing bookstore called Gardner's. And it's just wonderful. You can find so many great things out there. And so I went out there about, not quite 2 weeks, maybe 10 days ago. I went out there with a friend and I bought all of these books, and I've actually done a lot of reading, so I'll be able to give you some reviews. Spoilers. If you want to read any of these books that I'm going to show you, you may want to be aware that I will be giving spoilers because I can't keep a secret. We know I can't be trusted. Why would you think I wouldn't be able to give spoilers? It's not going to happen. But let me start with a total for you. I got 10 or so books, plus I bought 2 for a friend, and the total was 30 bucks. How can you go wrong? How can you go wrong? All right, so let's get started with the ones that I've read, and I will give you the reviews on them. Okay, so the first one that I read was, and I had to pick this up, and it is Hauntings by Nora Lofts. And my mother was familiar with this author. Apparently, she did quite a lot of wonderful things. However, this is not one of them. This was I did not enjoy this at all. It was, and I hope Nora doesn't watch this and get very upset because I'm sure you're a lovely person, but this was so boring. I mean, seriously, when you get a book that says hauntings and ghost stories, is anybody there? You're going to expect a little something more than just what you got out of this one. I'll just give you one example. In one of the stories, the woman receives as a gift a bird bath. But every time she is near the bird bath, she feels sick and she gets sick and she gets upset. So then a friend of hers comes over who is a historian and discovers that the bird bath was not actually a bird bath. It was actually the vessel of water that the Romans would make the lepers drink out of. And it was very, very ancient and very, very old. So you know what she does? Nothing. She does nothing. She doesn't call a museum. She doesn't take it off of her property. She just gets another, like a can or something to feed the birds and just doesn't go near it again. Really? So, if you want subtle, if you don't want to be scared at all, right here, this is the one you need. Hauntings. Okay, so what else did I read? Oh, I also want to talk about casting the movies in my head. I don't know if I'm the only one that does this. I don't think I'm the only one that does this. But when we middle-aged people read, and I've talked to all of my friends about this, so I know it's true, we visualize the story in our head. But for the younger generation, that's more difficult for them. And I'm not exactly sure why, if it's video games or I don't know, they're just not as smart as we are. I don't know. But I often visualize the movie in my head and then I do the casting. And so I've got a few books here that I'm going to put up pictures right up here of who I would cast in certain roles in it. So we'll get to that in a minute. All right. So the first one I got here was Cherry Ames, Army Nurse. And I have to say, again, I was a little disappointed. I loved Cherry Ames. I didn't love her in this one. Actually, I kind of thought she was a little witch with a bee. So in this one, it says the adventures of a young and dedicated nurse. In this one, she's kind of mean. So she goes to the army base because she wants to join. It was written in 1944. It's very propaganda. It's very, you know, we need to do everything to help our country, everything that we can, which I believe 100% wholeheartedly. But she goes there and she's just kind of mean to people and, you know, plays jokes and pranks that are really could come off as being hurtful. I don't know what was going on with this one. So I don't highly recommend that. Don't highly recommend that. Okay. Now, I've got this one here, which I have been dying to read. And when I saw it on the shelf at Gardner's, I picked it up. But again, it was a disappointment. Now, they won't all be disappointments, so I don't want you to click off. Have you guys, because this came out a long time ago, have you guys read this, this one, Patricia Cornwell, Portrait of a Killer, Jack the Ripper, Case Closed? Have you guys read this? Okay, here's some spoilers for you. First off, I am a big Jack the Ripper enthusiast. I just think it's fascinating. And not the murder so much really, but the fact that they never could catch him, they're not sure if any of the letters that he wrote are real, and the fact that it just stopped. And I just find the whole thing fascinating. It's got that Victorian London and, you know, anything fictional or non-fictional that I can read about it, I read about it. Now, she is a fantastic author, and the research she has done in this book is incredible. Now, here's a spoiler. She really believes that a young artist by the name of William Sickert was Jack the Ripper. But I'm going to go with maybe not, because there's so many instances when reading this book that I thought she was stretching, she was reaching. Like, I remember reading one part where the Jack the Ripper letters, again, which we're not sure if they're even authentic. They could have been written by newspaper people or just kind of sick, weird people. But in those letters, he uses the phrase, you fools, you fools. Well, according to Patricia, when William Sickert wrote some letters, he used the same phrase. Well, wouldn't like 90 other million people put you fools at some point in their life would write that? So that's why I was like, stretching, reaching, we're reaching, and just wasn't, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was better than the other two that I just reviewed because of all the history and everything like that. She actually buys a bullseye lantern, the lanterns that they would have walking around Whitechapel, and she tests it out to see how far you can see it. I mean, it's a really interesting read, but I'm not sold on the William Sickert theory. Sorry, get that out of my face. Okay, now we're going to go into, we're almost at the movie casting part. Okay, so this one I had to bring up because this one was so stupid, but I enjoyed it. So this one is called The Shuttered Room. And here's the thing that I loved about it. So there's this young woman, and she has inherited this house, and it's on this island, and everybody is really backwards on this island. They are very superstitious, and they're very closed off, and they're like newcomers and everything like that. So she and her husband, they have an MG. And the reason I know they drive around in an MG is that it's mentioned on every third page that they're in the MG. So that must have been a big deal back in the day. What's the copyright on this? I think it's 65. I should have this beforehand, but I never do. 66, I was close. Anyway, so they go to the island, and they get harassed by this kind of gang of backwards kids. And at one point, there's a near rape. And they've got the young wife, our main character, and they've got her on the ground, and they're lying on top of her, and they've torn her shirt. And then she's like, no, stop, don't do it, everything like that. And they're like, okay, go on, get out of here. I was like, really? That's what they do? That was pretty easy. I thought they were a little tougher than that. Not that I want to read about a rape, but they were pretty agreeable. They just let her up. So anyway, the deal is that they go to this house, and there's a room that is locked up. And they're all like, don't go in the room. Don't go in the room. Whatever you do, don't go in the room. So, of course, we have to go into the room. We go into the room, and just to wind this up for you, ages ago, and we're not even sure how long, let's say 25 years. And I'm being nice about that because they made it out like it was 50 years, and I can't imagine this thing would be 50 years old. But apparently a baby was born into this woman's family too early. And they mentioned that the baby was born in the embryonic stage. Okay, so instead of taking the baby to a NICU or a hospital or something, they lock the baby up in this room because apparently if you're born in the embryonic stage, you're incredibly violent and vicious and you kill people and you don't have a nose. And that was really brought out, was that she had long hair and long claw-like fingers and no nose. Just an opening where her nose should be. And she'd survived all these years in the Shuttered Room. Oh, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was stupid to the hilt, but it was a lot of fun. But I love the idea. I don't love the idea, but I was like, oh my gosh, the baby's born too early. What should we do? Should we lock it up? Okay, that sounds good. Let's do that. Whatever. Okay. Now we're going to get into some good ones and some movie casting. You ready? All right, so I got this one, Louisa May Alcott, Rose in Bloom. And this is part of a series that she wrote. Everyone's familiar with Little Women, but this is a part of a series that she wrote about this young woman who loses her mother and father and she has to go live with her cousins. And it's a really sweet love story. It's a really wonderful love story. And I'm reading it and I know exactly who's going to play Rose. Right up here is the girl, I can't think of her name. She played Emma. Okay, well, you'll know who it is. Maybe I'll write the name underneath when I'm editing. And then Timothy Chalamet has got to be Charlie. He's got to be the wild cousin, the one that loves her and loves him, but it doesn't work out. So, but there's a lot more going on in this book. It was so well written. I don't even know if you can fight it anymore. Rose in Bloom, Louisa May Alcott. Wonderful. Okay, here's another casting. Milestone Summer. Milestone Summer. Now this one was about a young woman who was just a spoiled brat. She was just an absolute spoiled brat. And she lived in Carmel, California. And then her father, who is an artist, dies. And they have to move to Monterey. Ugh. Well, it's so beneath her that they have to move to Monterey. And so for the first half of the book, she's just a real brat. And then she comes to like Monterey and she comes to enjoy it and everything like that. And I don't know. I mean, I just think that, if you're going to do this one also, let me back up. I lost my train of thought. This one also talks about interior design because she wants to be an interior designer. And I thought that was super interesting because I've never read a book with a main character who wants to be an interior designer. And there's a lot of interior design talk in here. A lot. Probably more than we needed. Interior design talk. So if you're into interior design and you want to see a good character arc from a really bratty bitchy girl into somebody who appreciates what she has, this one's for you. And isn't it cute? Milestone Summer. And when I got it, my mother said, "Do you know who's on the cover?" And I said, "No, who's on the cover?" Me. That's exactly how I wore my hair. And I had the big bows and everything like that. And everyone wanted to date me. I'm like, oh, well, sounds like you're a little bit of a slut. Just kidding. Just kidding. Take that with a grain of salt. Okay. 2 more that I've read. The Master of Phoenix Hall. Is it Phoenix Hall? Yeah, The Master of Phoenix Hall. This has got to be Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe has got to be the main, he's got to be the Master of Phoenix Hall. This is a very short book. Just a couple of things happen in it. It doesn't have too much suspense, but the Master of Phoenix Hall, he's very commanding. I mean, like Russell Crowe a few years ago, maybe not necessarily now. He's put on some poundage, but, you know, sort of in that, you know, when he was in the Beautiful Mind stage, he would be in wonderful Master of Phoenix Hall in that one. So very good Gothic. This one was fun, a lot of fun. I recommend it highly. Okay, and then this one I'm not finished with yet, but it's Timothy Chalamet again. It's Timothy, and Lily James, I think, would be wonderful about this. This is about a young woman that for some weird convoluted reason, it's called Blue Treasure, and for some weird convoluted reason, she has inherited a house in the Bahamas. And in order for her to actually take ownership of the house, she has to sleep in the house for 1 year and 1 day, and not sleep away from the house for 1 year and 1 day. And I love that sort of fairy tale contract that we're getting into with it. And there is a young man in it who is like a young scientist, like a marine biologist, that I think that Timothy would be fantastic at. And what I'm really enjoying about this one is that the relationship is so real, is that they talk about, you know, they talk about her art, and if her art is not working for her, then she just stops. And she just like throws it away, and she's like, oh, I can't do it, and everything like that. And, you know, when Timothy plays it, he will do a wonderful job, like this boy is doing, and saying, why do you stop when it's hard? When it's hard, you shouldn't stop. You should keep going. So that was a good one. Really enjoyed that. All right, I'm going to take a break for just a sec because the mailman's here and Moose is going to freak out. So I'll be back in a few minutes with the other side of the video of the ones I haven't read, but I'm excited to.